What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about XLM today, Stellar Lumens. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. Okay, so I feel like we've talked a lot recently about what to expect in the short term, right, with this bull flag and everything. If you're not aware of that, I'll make more videos in the near term talking about this, right? But I'm sure a lot of you are aware of the expectation that we're probably going to see the price around $1.80 or more by the end of this upcoming move, which we've been expecting it to be by the end of March. But as time continues without us breaking out, the targets don't change, right? From this pattern, the targets don't change. It's just the timing. So instead of breaking out here, we're breaking out here, right? Instead of hitting your high at this point, you're hitting it at this point. It's going to be later. Does that make sense? So most of this month we've been expecting that the targets would be attained by the end of March, but I'm starting to think that it might be by the middle point of April, mid-April, beginning of April. If not, certainly late March. I mean, we still have a whole another week in February and then a whole month in March to go. So that's a lot of time. It only took us 2 weeks last time to make this move. So we've got more than double, triple that left to go before the end of March. So I very much do expect that that will all still happen. It's just be aware it might happen. It might take place a little bit later than we anticipated, and that's fine. But the main purpose of this video, again, is to talk about the long-term stuff, okay? Where I see stellar lumens going, not just by the end of this coming move, but where do I see it going by the end of the cycle, right? And I will, spoiler alert, it is not up this high. No, it is not going to go that high. Wouldn't that be great if it did? But probably not, no. If we look at this thing for what it's worth, it's been in a multi-cycle consolidation phase, okay? It's probably going to see some kind of explosive move, very reminiscent of what you did in your very early days once you break out of this, right? And you're already showing some strength like you did back in the day, right? If we measure this pattern, we observe it as what I think it is, which is a ascending triangle, right, with a flat top, ascending lows. That's an ascending triangle pattern. You can look it up if you don't believe me. What is an ascending triangle pattern? Chart pattern. Although if you just say pattern, they'll probably know what you mean. From a low to a high, and I don't want to. I'm pretty sure with ascending triangles, you don't actually take the high. It's supposed to be a flat line, right? So wherever your flat line is for resistance, I would think just based off of this point of resistance here, maybe this is the line to go off of. This is for your measure move. So if anything, making this measurement smaller, not bigger, it gives us a more conservative approach to the measurement of what to expect on the breakout here. Okay, more conservative. If we put it at the line there, that takes XLM, stellar lumens, all the way up to about $15.32. Now, this is a measure move. It's an idea. It's not a requirement. Stellar lumens could flop at $4 and never be seen from again, right? It could destroy $30. Who knows, right? I'm just saying this is what the measure move is. This is the idea. This is what the expectation out and about might be, is that stellar lumens goes somewhere around 15 to 16, maybe $17, depending on how you want to draw this, right? And again, on a monthly basis, a multi-cycle basis, I wouldn't assume that this just happens overnight. It probably takes months to achieve after the breakout, right? We're not even in this breakout move yet. The breakout move, this measure move, it commences once we cross the threshold here, okay, which we haven't done yet, okay? Looking at the monthly RSI, we have hit the overbought zone, which, by the way, is a very phenomenal thing to do. A lot of cryptos have not entered their overbought zones yet this bull cycle, and I think doing this gives you a really good position to see some immediate growth and really some strong moves as well. Anytime you get on into the overbought zone and you pull back to the 60, that is a nice area to bounce from. We do have about a week left in this month, so closing around this area would be fine, though I do expect that by the end of next week, we're probably at higher prices than we are now, but still, you don't need to bounce right off the 60. It would be a nice look in theory, but you could bounce, you can bounce just below it, you could bounce just above it. Something, when you get out of the overbought zone, something above the 50 is always appreciated, right? And that generally reflects in a strong move, even when you reject the overbought zone, let alone if you get into it. You reject the overbought zone here, find support in this same area that we're talking about. Look at the bullish aftermath that took place here whenever you found support just below the 60, same thing, bullish aftermath. So we're about to see the continuation in respects to, like, I would think something like this versus something like this, but either way, it's going to be phenomenal. End of cycle prediction so far that we have is $15.32. Okay, let's make sense out of that. Let's go to coin market cap. What's Canada? Oh my goodness, that is bright. Canada, USA. I actually threw some money right before I started making videos, you guys. I saw that Canada was up 1-0 on USA, so I threw some money down on a live bet for USA to win. I got plus 200 odds, baby. That was good. And then USA scored right afterwards. So, and now the odds, let's see. Where are they at? Doesn't tell me. Oh, it's because I'm on the team stats thing. I got no beef with Canada, man. I like making money. I like betting. So yeah, now the money line's negative 120. It used to be negative or plus 200. So if it, for any gamblers out there, if you know what I mean, I snagged some good odds, man. We're sniping things from all angles up in here. I'm going to coin market cap. That's what we're doing. Coin market cap. Sorry, I only clicked on that because I was looking for this plus button and it was right next to it at the moment. So we're trying to find out what. And by the way, Canada, USA, whoever wins, I just hope they're classy about it. I hope that these tensions between the two nations that are neighbors and friends, it just settles, right? There's too much hostility. I mean, we're I don't know. We're friends, man. Anyways, 34 cents right now. Market cap is 10.46 billion. Okay, this is what I wanted. So 10.46 billion dollar market cap for Stellar Lumens. Okay, this thing's been around since 2014. It's been around longer than the majority of like 99% of cryptos. Okay, not only has it been around, but it's remained relevant. It hasn't seen lower lows, and even this cycle, it's been a showstopper to boot. So my expectation, call me crazy, but I think by the end of the cycle, Stellar Lumens will have a multi-hundred-billion-dollar market cap. Now, I don't think it'll see anything at a trillion, or maybe not even near a trillion, but I do accept that you could see, when I say multi-hundred, I don't just mean 200 billion. Maybe it only goes to 200 billion, in which case that'd be a 20x from here, essentially, right? It'd be a 208 billion, I think, if it was a 20x from here, but a 20x from here, from the current price, I mean, that doesn't even take you up to your measure move. So things are looking good for when I'm talking about multi-hundred billion, you guys. I'm talking about more than 200 billion. That would be about 200 billion right there. Okay. 10.46. If we were to see, I think this thing. I don't think it goes to a trillion, but I could see. And what do I know, right? We're talking about things that are at market caps that are just. We say a billion, we say 10 billion, 100 billion, as if it's just these numbers that we understand. But you guys, it's very. I don't know. I feel like it's easy. It's not easy. It's comprehensible, but we just throw these numbers around, and it seems like, oh, you can just achieve this. But these are crazy numbers that we're talking about. Okay. With that in mind, from my perspective, with my 8 years of experience in this game, I think this thing could see maybe as high as something around 700 to 900 billion dollars by the end of the cycle. What do I know? What do I know? If it doesn't see something between 700 and 900, I could definitely see 400 to 500, right? Something like that. 400 to 700 even, right? I could see that. This is at 200 roughly, right? This would be then essentially at 400. Okay, your measure move is at about 400. Okay, and that's probably the minimum that I would expect. So I like that, right? I like that. That makes sense a little bit to me. That $15 area, even $13. Let's see if it makes sense on a fib basis, high to low. We're going to make sense out of it in a couple other ways too. Okay, high to low. It doesn't make sense in a fib basis, or at least not on your high to low. What about this high to low? Kind of, right below your 2272, but still it doesn't. I think what would make the most sense would be something above $20. Okay, $20, $22 is your next target. That would give you something that's closer to a $700 billion market cap, around $600 billion. And I truthfully think that this fib area is where you're going to top off. I don't think you stop at your measure move. It's too obscure in this Fibonacci extension area. I don't think that's where you stop. With the measure move, again, it's just an idea. You can fall short. There's targets just below it. You can break through it. There's targets just above it. My impression is that XLM does not take the short end of the stick and only see a $250 billion market cap by the end of the cycle. And maybe it does. Maybe it stops there, and that's a great accomplishment on a market cap perspective. 25x from here, that's phenomenal too on a price growth perspective. But I think this thing might have more oomph left in it, right? We could see a 63x to potentially, I mean, maybe not a 93x, 94x, but something up in this area. My genuine target for Stellar Lumens by the end of the cycle, as of now, I accept would be something between 15 to 22 bucks. Let's say even 25 bucks. Probably more likely closer to that $22 area than anything. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, let's look at XLM versus BTC and see if we can make sense out of it that way too. Okay, XLMBTC. On Binance, sure. Monthly time frame. Do we have all the history? Please tell me we do. It's not all of it, but that's okay. Oh no, it is all of it. Oh right, it's versus Bitcoin, so of course it's going to look different. Lower highs or lower lows here. Not lower lows. Sorry, I can't talk. Double bottom. It is a slightly lower low. One second. Oh man. Double bottom. Immaculate reaction. Treat this all. I wouldn't treat it as a trend, right? Stellar Lumens isn't just downward trending into oblivion. I mean, maybe it does inevitably. Maybe it does. And it's not. It's certainly not upward trending. You're just range bound. And you just bounced off the bottom of your range. I would even take it a step further and maybe put some resistance here. Not here, although you do have maybe even there too, right? Let's just identify some points. Support right there. Time and time again, a little resistance there, resistance there, resistance there. Resistance here on a closing basis, resistance there. That makes sense to me. Support, of course, and then the all-time high. Okay, so this is versus Bitcoin. This is Stellar Lumens XLM versus Bitcoin. So when it goes up, that does not mean that Bitcoin's going down or that Stellar Lumens is going up in dollar values. That's not what it means. It just means that Stellar is outperforming Bitcoin when it comes to dollar values. That's what it means. So my expectation is after this long bear market versus Bitcoin, this is not the end of it. I don't think you resume. I think you reverse things. I think you trend a little bit upwards, right? Just like when you had a long phase of consolidation here and you had your first pop, was that the end of it? No, you consolidated for a little bit, but then you continued upwards. Now, where are you going to continue to? That's a good question. Let's just measure this by our first metric, right here. That would be a 300. That'd be a 4x essentially. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 1, 4, 5, 3. So let's put that into the calculator, Google calculator here. I want to refresh this and look at this, but it's so blinding, right? I don't want to blind you guys. Real quick, let's just see. Does it update? It must update constantly. In which case, I don't need to. I could probably just do it like this and see the score. That's fine. Anyways. Degen with C-Zar. 0.00001453. 0.000011. I can't remember. I just remember there's 4 zeros. 4 zeros. Come on now. 1453. Okay, that would be our Bitcoin valuation. I think Bitcoin, by the end of the cycle, is going to see its 2272 extension, okay? It's actually going to go through its 2272 extension, which is all the way up at about 462K. I think Bitcoin hits 500K or higher by the end of the cycle, but I think 500K is a good target. So let's just say 500K. Okay, this times 500,000, because this is priced in Bitcoin. So if XLM, by the end of the cycle, achieves this reading versus Bitcoin, and at the end of the cycle, Bitcoin's around 500K, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, whatever. This should be the price of Stellar Lumens. 500, 1, 2, 3, 500,000 equals $7.26. So this would be at the bare minimum, right? This would be at the absolute bare minimum target for Stellar Lumens. And that target there is actually just below a fib that we had right down here at $8.46. So to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's there. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I'm sure we find turbulence here, but I bet we go higher. And whenever we look at this thing from an overall fib perspective, from a high, that was not the high, to the low. Let's get the high on there, come on. The golden ratio is actually right at that line. Wow, that's crazy. It's right at that line. So maybe, I mean, if we break above that, whenever we break above that, the next target area would be the 786 to the 886 area, okay, just so you know. And the 786 has one of those white lines on it too, the golden ratio and the 786 do. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, so the next target area after the golden ratio actually would be the 786, so that's perfect. Also, just based on our resistance and support areas, it makes sense as well. So now we've got a 8x versus Bitcoin for the rest of the cycle, and that puts us up to about 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 2, 9. Okay, so 4 zeros, 2, 9, point, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 2, 9. Okay, it's 2, 9 something. Let's try to make it 2904, sure, whatever. Because they're dealing with long decimals, whatever, and big numbers. So $500,000, right? I'm not saying Bitcoin will be at 500,000. Maybe it's a little lower, maybe it's a little higher, but we're just going around there. I'm thinking end of cycle stuff, right? And if Bitcoin tops at 500K, I wouldn't think it drops all the way to 400K by the time Stellar Lumens runs. Generally, Bitcoin does, for those of you that are unaware, Bitcoin does top off a month before altcoins do. but maybe Bitcoin tops off above 500K and then it's chilling around 500K. I don't know. If it tops at 500K and then altcoins run for a month afterwards, Bitcoin would likely be around 480, 450, somewhere in that, right? Maybe 440. So these numbers could be skewed a little bit, but it could also be above 500K as well, right? Or just around this area. So this is just what I'm thinking for end of cycle Bitcoin, right? Versus what we could see for end of cycle XLM to Bitcoin. Pricing that out would give us a 1452. Now that makes a little bit of sense because we have a measure move that's right around that area. Okay, that makes a little bit of sense. 1452. It's not really in an area, and I mean that's kind of where our measure move is there. It's not really in an area that makes sense on a fit perspective, but hey, it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, and 786 area that could be the case too, right? If Bitcoin's at higher prices, Stellar Lumens would be at a higher price. If it's at lower prices, Stellar Lumens would be at a lower price. Now, if we return to the highs that you once had, maybe not all the way up here, but something at this shelf, because I don't know, maybe Stellar Lumen sees new highs versus Bitcoin, and if it does, that really will help your case for seeing targets that are probably above $30 or more. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it won't. But I'm just saying what we've seen so far. Out of what we've seen so far, if you go, I'm not even going to go to the maximum. But if we go to the shelf here, right below the maximum, where you found a lot of resistance right there at about 0.0000472, that'll probably double your price. That actually probably will bring you up above $30. 0.1234472. Is that what it was? 472. Yeah. 472 times 500K, 50,000, 500,000. That gives you a $23.6. Man, my math is really off. $23.6 XLM. And that is the price that I think Stellar Lumens is going to go to by the end of the cycle, right? I think we've made a lot of sense. And there's everything that we've done just now, to me, if anything, it gives us more of a clarification that there is a lot of resistance along the way to this target area at $22 to $23, okay? The minimum target of about 846, there's ways to make sense out of that, right? There's ways to make sense out of that by ways of the XLMBTC chart, and then just by ways of the fibs here. To me, it doesn't make sense. I don't think that you've consolidated this much to have this bullish of a start and then find a breakout move that overall is smaller than what your measure move is. That to me doesn't make sense. Your measure move at least does make sense from a fit perspective on your XLM BTC pair. Maybe you go a little bit above this line. You don't have to tip it exactly, right? You went a little bit above it here, and if you go a little bit above it, that would probably take you right to your measure move. So there is more confidence than I had at the beginning of the video that Stellar Lumens could, by the end of this cycle, stop around the measure move around 14 to 15 bucks. It's very possible. But I'm sticking with the high targets. I think you're at the bottom of the range. I think you're going to the top of the range. You might even go to new highs. And if you do, everything that we've talked about so far is underestimated, very underestimated. Time will tell. We'll see how it goes. I think it really depends if we are to expect new highs, and we'll keep an eye on this. It depends on how you interact with this zone here, okay? If you find resistance, and my expectation would be that you do find resistance, I don't think that you'll see new all-time highs versus Bitcoin this cycle, which would very much limit Stellar Lumens growth to probably anything from, at the most, $20 to $25, okay? Probably nothing more than that if you find resistance at the golden ratio. But if you tear through it on the first time and then you find support on it afterwards, that's a really good setup to see new all-time highs by the end of the cycle. In which case we might not be bullish enough. So we'll pay attention to it whenever it happens. We'll probably have this sorted out by the end of March, if not by the end of April. But certainly well before the end of the cycle. But at the moment, I'm thinking that you probably go up to your 886, right? From a high to a low, that's probably right at your 886, just above your 886 there. Something like that. And that'll take you, anything from just below 20 bucks to just above 20 bucks, which is that next fib target just above your measure move, which makes the most sense to me. So I got nothing else to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's been a while since we talked about the long term in this thing. I suppose the best way to make sense out of targets that are higher than anything I've talked about so far in this video, anything that's above that, the best way to make sense out of that, if you're saying that personally, if you're watching this video and you're a person that's like 22 bucks, that's not high enough, man. 23 bucks, 25 bucks, that's not high enough. Stellar Lumens is going to be worth over 100 bucks this cycle or 87 bucks this cycle. Well, just be aware, you're talking about something then that'll likely be worth over $1 trillion in market cap which maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't think it does. And then not only that, it would see new all-time highs versus Bitcoin by the end of the cycle, which it could see, but I'm a bit skeptical of that at the moment. I don't think that we'll know enough about it until we see how we interact with these highs here, but time will tell. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Go USA. Canada, it's okay. We'll still be friends afterwards. Okay. Take it easy. Bye-bye.